is to dominate the news, have a game postponed, plus reviews of the players so far through this season. This is Locked On Nuggets. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and we're available on all platforms. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network and the Nuggets insider for 104.3 The Fan in Denver. He's Adam Mara. He's director of content for DMV. Got his work at thednvr.com, including a new edition of The List. Is up tomorrow. Yes.
Now I'm tied to it. Yeah, I just told you. I was like, yeah, I'm going to work on that tonight. Now it's like you better get it done because it is teased. It is promoted.
You told me that you're kind of feeling under the weather and you're having to drink coffee and you're exhausted. So I just go ahead and make things worse for you. Want to let you know that today's episode is got PrizePicks.com and use promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. On today's show, we will talk about the Nuggets game versus the Nets that never happened as the game was postponed due to COVID. We'll talk about where the league is at. We'll talk about the rule changes and how they impact the Nuggets. We'll talk about all of this and more. Plus, in the final two segments, we will talk about 5-star reviews for the Nuggets players and coaching staff throughout the first quarter of the season. We'll talk about that tonight. I am coming to you from Las Vegas, where I'm here for the G League Showcase. Came all this way and unfortunately missed the Grand Rapids Gold's first marquee game versus the Ignite tonight. I had another engagement I had to get to. So I missed Mario Chalmers' debut. Very excited to bug you about how Mario Chalmers should be on the roster instead of Facu Campazzo over the next 6 months. But the Grand Rapids, I will say the Grand Rapids Gold did have a lot of players that looked NBA like they can fill in. So that's something to talk about. I will be catching their game tomorrow, and we'll have kind of more thoughts on who's on the G League team and who can contribute later this week. So, Adam, let's start here.
Okay.
The Nuggets were supposed to play the Nets today, and then they were going to have themselves a little break ski, little bit of time off. And instead, the game is postponed. The Brooklyn Nets do not have the available number of players after Kevin Durant went into health and safety protocols on top of most of the rest of the roster, including Kyrie Irving, after he was cleared for about a day. Or not cleared, but was supposed to enter into the process of coming back. Look, at this point, we started on, Friday, 10% of the league was in protocols. And now we're up to about somewhere north of we're getting closer to 30%. A third of the league is in protocols right now. They finally, for the first time this season, started doing postponements. They had to, based off of the required number of players available, which you have to have 8, and a bunch of teams did not have them. The Sixers game versus the Pelicans was postponed. The Hawks game versus the Cavs was postponed. There are rolling outages throughout the league. This is one of the bigger things, is that not everybody's testing positive at once. It's a few guys test positive, and then you play a game, and then a few more guys test positive, and you play a game. And then a bunch more guys test positive.
This is how it works, though. That's not a surprise. That's kind of how it works. I just know from my own experience with COVID coming through my house, everybody was a few days off. So it's not surprise. I just want people to know that's kind of how it works. There's a delayed effect was this process.
No game for the Nuggets today, and we'll see where the schedule gets to. The league, I will tell you, is going to do everything possible to make the Christmas games happen. That is the number one priority for the league this week, is to make the Christmas games happen. They are changing protocols. They are changing rule assignments. They are changing the number of players you can add and how. They are changing all types of things to try and get through Christmas. If any sort of full stoppage is going to happen, I'll tell you that it's not going to happen until after Christmas. I don't expect it to happen.
I don't think it'll happen. I don't think
it happens at all. But if it's going to happen, it's not going to happen until after Christmas. Just get that out of your head right now.
I just think there's no point. Honestly, there's just no point to stopping. You would have to stop for months if you wanted to make a real thing. And then 2, I just think they're just going to go through it. Every team's going to have this little wave, I think, probably. And hopefully the league is gathering information about what is working and what is not, and can protect people as well as possible in the coming weeks.
The vast majority of players are still asymptomatic, which is great news. That's good to hear. There's continuing to be lots of differing opinions and data and information. Like the initial data has been positive that this is going to be a less severe, more transmissible variant wave, but the experts are like urging like we don't know enough yet, so we'll see how it goes. I guess my first question for you is, what's your reaction to the Nets game being canceled?
All right, I have a couple here, and you have to like be the grounded one on this one because I'm going to be the whiny guy.
Okay.
What changed for them between the game they played against the Orlando Magic the night before and the game they were scheduled to play the Denver Nuggets?
Kevin Durant went out?
No. He was out for that game. Kyrie Irving was out for that game. They played the night they because it was a back-to-back for them. They were going to have a back-to-back. They had no new positives between the Orlando Magic game playing and the Nuggets game. So that's my only thing I look at and I go, I don't know why they played that one then and then decided not to play this one. But that being said, I also understand it. This is not a this was a game that was going to screw over somebody. Like if Brooklyn was forced to play it, then it would have been unfair to them. They wouldn't have had their regular team. The way they're going to reschedule this is almost certainly going to be completely unfair to Denver. So it was one of those ones where you kind of had to just pick it. And I think on principle, they're down enough guys that you look at and say, okay, yeah, they probably, we probably just need to cancel this one. I am curious with the new protocols in place, though. Part of the new protocols is, and this is, again, the league's plan. Now, every time a player tests positive or goes into the protocols, you just get to call up a guy on a 10-day. And if that rule were in place 24 or 48 hours ago, the Brooklyn Nets probably have 2 or 3 more guys that they added just to keep the games moving. So Denver, a little bit stuck in the wrong timing for this specific game, and they'll have to reschedule it.
Yeah,
you're trying to fact check me. I'm telling you, look at it.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I'd already confirmed that you're right. But I'm trying to help you answer the question, my friend. I'm trying to help you. I
honestly don't know that there is that there's a reason for it. I think they were just like they probably should have canceled the Magic game, but they were trying not to cancel any games.
Well, there had to have been something because here's the deal. Like they've mandated that you have to have 8 players available, right? You have to have 8 players available, and they don't cancel it unless you crush that threshold. Like that's collectively bargained. They can't be like, oh no, this one's too tough, so like that one's not going to happen. I'm trying to figure out what happened with the Nets that would have caused that change. Like I am like genuinely curious about like who entered in there that would have changed it. And well, let's see. It's Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Day'Ron Sharpe.
They were out well before that game. Like that was known.
I hear you. So this is the thing is like I'm trying to figure out why that game would have been canceled, right? Because they can't just arbitrarily cancel it. They can't. Like they have to have like the number of players. So you're saying that they did.
Look, you're right that I would assume that this is like a collectively bargained thing, but I don't know. They just canceled the game out of nowhere. And then in the morning, it was rumblings like I'm hearing the game's likely to be postponed. I'm thinking, why? Like I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I will say I think one of the things that's tough in these situations is when we're in because like there's a little bit of like the Nuggets have had to play games that when everybody's like out.
They were mostly injured, not COVID pro. I mean, Denver got hit. I think the lowest they had was 9 available players.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that I'm gonna assume actually that what happened was that the Nets probably had more positives.
Let me ask you this though, Matt. Does this feel and this isn't anybody's fault. I'm not trying to put an asterisk. I'm never that guy, but I'm just saying, does this year starting to feel more and more like this is just going to be a major outlier season?
No,
like you don't think that's the case?
Because I think that we're gonna get from the people I've talked to. This is just I'm trying not to have like opinions. I'm trying to be like, okay, what do people that I trust think? The people I've talked to have said there's going to be an intense period where everybody's got it, right? And then the wave is then probably they're going to have built-in. They're going to have immunity after infection, which is stronger. They'll have been boosted because the NBA is working very hard on boosters right now. And then I think by like mid-January, we're probably through.
But that's my point. But that's my point is that even teams getting it now, like it's not evenly distributed. Meaning it's not like every team's just going to lose 2 games during this thing. Like no, like some teams, Denver, for example, hasn't had a major outbreak yet. They've had a minor one. And if, let's say, Jamal Murray comes back and that's when theirs starts, like that would be the worst timing and it would cause them to. So that's what I'm saying is this year, we're going to look at the standings at the end of the year and it's going to be like, wow, how is that team all the way down there? And it's like, well, just because this season it's almost impossible to say where the good and bad teams fall.
Yeah, I'm not there. I'm not there. I look at the standings and I don't think the standings are like, I don't look at the standings and go like, oh man, COVID is why those teams are there. And so if it hasn't impacted it so far, I don't have any reason to believe that by the end of the season, I'm going to look at that and think the same, right? Like the Nets have had one of the worst outbreaks amongst all of the teams, and they are.
Well, yeah, they got their game canceled. They went 0-1, and then their games got canceled. So yeah,
no, I mean
like they avoided it.
But they've been low on, but they've been low on guys all like for not just like this recent period. It's not just like yesterday they got a bunch of guys.
For COVID it is.
Well, okay, so the Bulls have had probably the worst case. I would say the Bulls have had the worst outcome of all of them.
Yeah, but they also had their game canceled.
Yeah, but Adam, I'm telling you, like DeMar got into protocols like 2 weeks ago.
I know, and their games got canceled almost immediately because they had so many guys. I mean, it was a game or two. It was a game or two, is what I'm saying.
Today, these were the first games to be postponed this season.
What's that?
Like this was the first time.
The Bulls just went a week without a basketball game.
Yeah, but I'm saying before that, the Bulls still had like massive outages and were still playing games. And the Bulls are still second in the Eastern Conference. So why are we going to look at the end of the season and go like it was decided?
Because it's just, to me, it's just I look around the league and I go, okay, the Phoenix Suns have been largely healthy and avoided COVID. They are 24-5. The Golden State Warriors have been largely healthy and avoided COVID. They're 24-6. The Utah Jazz have been largely healthy and avoided COVID. They're 20-9. Memphis Grizzlies somehow are winning without John Morant. They're the one team that's like, okay, this is they've overcome what everybody expected to be. They're like,
what's a team that's been hit by COVID that you can look at their record and go, it's because of COVID?
Well, I mean, now they've started to cancel these games, so I don't know, but like, I'd have to go by and see. I'm looking at them here. I mean, Denver, you could say, is one of them because they lost 3 guys when they were already down 3 other players to injury. So Denver is one. The Bucks, Bucks have had a little bout with it.
But the Bucks had injuries right from the get-go, right? Like their problem was that they got hit right out of the gate.
76ers, 15-15. They were off to a very good start.
They lost Joel Embiid for a long time due to injury.
And to COVID. Mm-hmm. And they were forced to play those games.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not there. It's okay. We can just disagree on it. I just don't like my thing is I don't think by the end of the year we're going to look at it and go, this was the year of COVID. We'll go look at last year and go, that was a year of COVID. I think because to me, like last year's outbreaks were considerably worse and more taxing because it combined with a harsher schedule. Like the Celtics just had the year from hell last year. Like it was.
Here's what I'll say. You look at the Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, to some extent Timberwolves, maybe even Grizzlies. That's the teams that are all bundled up there in the middle. I think the team that wins that pile is the team that just has the best health luck from this point forward and probably COVID luck as well. There's going to be a team that runs a little bit hot. There's going to be a team that runs really negative in that way, and the team that runs negative is probably going to be in the play-in.
Okay. I mean, it's okay to disagree. I think I will say like not everybody's asymptomatic, and I think that could definitely play a role. Like if a guy comes back and is like it was like I mean Austin said this, like Austin said it was rough, right? So if you have guys that are out and they're symptomatic, and then they try and come because like Jason Tatum said he had trouble breathing. Right. Like it was tough for him to come back and play. So if you have that, I think that has a huge impact on it.
Austin Rivers too.
I think what we're going through right now. I think what we're going through right now is probably a pretty intense period of because I mean this is part of it, right? This is like the players are pushing aggressively to be allowed to play when positive, which I just have to stress like as a fan, as a media member. As a member of like the basketball community to whatever degree I am not comfortable with players playing positive. It does not seem like this is when you are actively leaning in and saying we are no longer trying to stop the spread. I think it's difficult.
Yeah.
So yes, Ivan Kristich, we do in fact know that is live. So yeah, I think it's possible that this is going to wind up being like, I don't think you could be right. You could be right. Like I could be just wrong on this. I look at it and I go, I think one of the things that actually, like, the fact that this has gotten so bad so quickly, to me, makes it less likely that it's going, because that was one of the problems last year. Is it was like team would get hurt, team would get healthy, team would get COVID, team would get healthy, team would get COVID, team, like, the schedule was nightmarish. And now it's like, especially if you look at the back half of the schedule, a lot of it is like, a lot of the teams have, we talked about this the other day, right? How you're like, oh, this other team has like a nightmare schedule too. Like, the back half of the schedule is lighter. And I think that once they get through Christmas, I think it will, like, we will get through. We also saw with Delta, the surge was sharp and fast.
Yeah.
And, I have a lot of faith that there'll be additional boosters or whatever mess in order to increase this stuff. It's going to be a rough month. I think it's going to be a really rough month. But for the season, to look in April and say that that's like the defining characteristic, I can't get there.
To me, Yoke rolled his ankle and missed 5 games. The Nuggets are 15-14, which is what shapes the season. If he didn't do that, I think that they're at least 17-12, if not 18-11, and just the whole season is framed differently that way. So again, if you just have the wrong timing for a positive case in the Nuggets, like, oh, we have a 5-game homestand, but we're going to be without Joker, like that, that's enough to shift the way that the West is going to shake out for them. But we'll see.
I'm trying very hard. I'm trying very hard not to make a joke about a certain member of the Nuggets. I'm trying very hard right now not to make a joke. We gotta go to break, but I do want to talk about the two-way stuff. So this to me is a little irritating. So the Nuggets, or the league, announced tonight before we recorded the show, Shams Charania said they changed a bunch of things, including you'll now be required to sign a replacement player when they have 2 positive tests. For 3 positive tests, 2 replacement signings are required. And for 4 positives or more, 3 hardship signings are required. On top of that, this is the key one. Two-way players who had previously had 50-game max now have no limit on the number of games they can appear in. This is a huge deal.
Let's talk. Can we talk about this on the other side? I know we need to hit our first break. Let's take this, because there's actually a lot to talk about on that.
Yeah,
that's a big rule.
We'll do that and come back on the other side. But first, I do need to tell you about our wonderful, wonderful sponsors, including TrueBill. You know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want, need, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. Your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. TrueBill has over 2 million users and helped them save over $100 million. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets for Monday. Thanks for making this part of your day. Want to let you guys know 2 things. One, the best way for you to support the show is to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. That is the best way for you to support the show. People are like, I love the show. You guys are so great. If you mean that, if you really love us, I'm guilting you now. If you really love us, you'll go to YouTube and you'll subscribe and like the page. That is very important for us. It helps us in a number of ways. 2, we use a program to record these provided by Locked On, and we are actually starting to do these streaming live. So if you guys, and there's like a comment section that goes directly to us. So you guys can go to YouTube and follow us and then put in comments, and those will come in through the app, and you guys can actually interact with us and we'll ask questions. For timing purposes, just so you know, we record these usually around 9:30 Mountain
on off time. Days, on non-game days. Yep.
On non-game days, and then
and
after
like
the game
2 in the morning on the game days.
Yeah, and then like after on game days, basically, if you watch the DMVR post-game show, which you should, watch the DMVR post-game show, give Adam about 15 minutes to make conversation, and then like 40 minutes to get home, and then he has to text me and wake me up, and then we start recording. So that's how that goes. All right.
So true.
Continuing here on Locked On Nuggets, talking about this. So you had some thoughts on the two-way contract situation that was changed by the rule changes the NBA implemented on Sunday night.
Well, my first comment is on the last one you just meant. It's a smaller note, but that two-way players now have no limit to the amount of days they could spend with their team. What's funny about this, I had heard that coming into this season, two-way contracts were actually a little less competitive. Like teams more just like teams didn't know how they were going to be used, like this or that. So they're like, let's just bring back guys we already have or spend a little bit less of an investment there. Just let's get our guys. What's interesting is now that those guys can basically just be extra roster spots, I almost feel like maybe more care could have been put into who you were to sign there. Of course, nobody knew that at the time, but now it actually becomes really important. And then my second note, of course, is Tim Conley has been very good at finding undrafted players, veterans from overseas, guys in the G League, whatever, what have you. And now he gets I am curious to see if it is an advantage, even ever so small, for teams that are very good with their scouting departments to say, hey, we just lost our shooting big man. We need to find a shooting big man. And we just have guys that are a little bit more connected and are able to bring guys up. So I'm kind of curious to see if that ends up playing out. Now, I will say, these rules kind of missed Denver. Denver could have used these 3 weeks ago when they only had 9 players. Hopefully they don't go through a scenario like that again, but the odds are they will at least once or twice, and I'm curious to see who Denver plucks.
What was their COVID issues when they were down so many guys, when they were down to the very bottom?
So the only guys, the thing is, it was all injuries. The COVID
injuries,
was just Bull, Austin Rivers, and Bones. Those guys were all in the protocols on that road trip and ended up missing, I think, three or four games.
Yeah, so they've opened up the hardship exceptions, so that's good. I think it's one of the things I will tell you it's really interesting is their approach here is okay. So you've got like they signed Davon Reed instead of anybody of like all instead of like the G League team, the gold, right, is full of guys that are veterans. Like tonight, again, I want to stress this: Mario Chalmers played, and I'm so excited at him. Like I'm so like
You're a Chalmers fan.
Like it's really weird because I went to Missouri and I hate Kansas guys. I covered Rio in all those finals, and I got to really like him. Like I got to really like Rio,
or as a player,
like as a person and as a player. I think he's underrated. I thought, well, he was underrated. I think it's been a couple of years.
Oh, he's 35 now, yeah.
Yeah. But like, and it's Lance Stevenson and Nick Stauskas and all these types of things. Like you wouldn't
a lot of name recognition.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that though. That's part of it. Is like you wouldn't expect that to be the case necessarily, right? Like,
well, I don't know. So that's an interesting thing. A 10-day is so interesting because you kind of have to just come. It's not like you're there for that long. And by the way, poor Davon Reed, the first 5 days of his 10-day are going to have 0 games. So, poor Davon Reed, and I know you're going to roll your eyes as I say this. Poor Cronkies who are committing to paying a guy that they didn't have to all this money to not play. They actually did not need him for 5 days. So I know you're scoffing because they have the money to spend, but that is substantial, like $40,000 that they're going to spend for a guy to basically travel and do shoot-arounds. So that's kind of a bummer. But
it's a hard knock life for them. It's a hard knock life.
No, but I do wonder if there's something too, like Chalmers has played in the NBA, and we only need you in case of emergency for 2 games. Is it better to have a veteran who just kind of gets what's going on versus maybe some guy who's like, this is his dream? I don't know, but maybe that's the reason. Also, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just goodwill.
Yeah, I think this can be helpful for them. I think this entire thing can be. I think it's just they need more reinforcements, right? So anything that allows more guys to come in. You mentioned like Tim Connelly's history. I think having more guys that they can take a shot on is good, right? And like especially like with the two-way players, now that they have a G League team, is they can say like, okay, we thought about adding this guy as a two-way deal, but we really didn't have room on the roster. But now like we can actually play them. And we don't have to worry about the max. Like we're not going to have to worry about fitting in the time. Right. This is something that like they've been going back and forth on the 50 days thing anyway. And now they're moving back on this. And I think it's good. Like they need to put less restrictions on these type of things. It's always interesting to me talking to talking to people in the league about this because they're very split between the idea of I don't want teams having like a huge advantage in like who they can sign outside of their roster. Like we need to have like set availabilities, and then versus other like teams that are basically like, I don't understand why we can't give these guys shots if we have the opportunity to give them such one, and ownership is willing to pay. So those two things I think are kind of interesting to kind of debate. You are right that the Nuggets are kind of behind on this, right? Where it's like they could have used these exceptions. You mentioned this with the scheduling too. Like you were talking about this to me before we got on, is that you were like, they have like a 4-day break and now they get a postponement.
They haven't had a break this whole year. It's been a dead sprint from the first weekend till now. The only little break they got was right around Thanksgiving. There was like 2 days on each side of a game. But outside of that, it's just been like back-to-backs. For a while there, they had the most back-to-backs every other night, this or that, travel in between. And now you got a point where you actually had 3 days off, and it turned into 5 days off because the one game got canceled that was probably the easiest on them physically. So it's a little weird.
One thing I thought was there's been like a rash of signings. This is what's actually kind of funny is a bunch of guys that were going to be at Showcase are no longer here because they've been called up, which I think is funny. Like including the Magic, who are going through their own, pulled up one of the leaders in blocks per game. Like they just went out and got that guy. Who was it? Was it the Nets? No, it was the Magic. The Magic also got BJ Johnson, who's third in the G League in points per game. Like these guys are getting pulled up. The G League, I think, is going to get a lot of looks here, which I think is like a good thing. Oh my gosh, Ryan Arcidiacono is available. Ooh, they should go get him.
I love the guys that you love and the guys that you hate. It just it's like I don't get it.
What is it? Our mutual friend
Arcidiacono, you love. Okay.
Our mutual friend Kirk Henderson just says that I'm the smartest dumb person about basketball. That's
Arcidiacono is very Facu-esque.
But he's tall. It's all about you gotta be tall. If Facu were taller,
people, it's your shortness he doesn't like.
If Facu, it's the combination. You can be short but a shooter, and you can be tall and not a shooter that can pass, but you can't be a short person who can pass but not shoot. It's this combination of things. Yeah. What else we got? What else do we want to go through? Because I think we're too late to do 5-star reviews. We'll have to do that later in the week. I have one more subject for you after the break.
Okay, well, I was going to say one thing. I will say the Lakers now with Anthony Davis out at least 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, LeBron is really good, and so he's going to have to go into like hero mode. He's a lot earlier than he expected just to keep him afloat, but they are 16-15. They are now behind the Denver Nuggets in the standings, and they just lost Anthony Davis. I'm really curious to see how they survive this next month. A lot of road games, not an easy schedule. I'm really curious to see where they land in a month.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. We're talking about all these absences and all these injuries, and I do think that like the Nuggets got themselves just in like it's been a year from hell for them. It's one of the reasons why I'm kind of like, I might want to be wrong about all my optimism about them. It's just like they just didn't get the breaks, right? Like they didn't get I don't think they've gotten many breaks along the way. Nug life.
I feel like they're in a good spot though. I mean, I'm curious to see how they I'm very curious to see once they get back to Denver if they get some momentum and feel good and maybe some good luck breaks their way. Because they're not in a bad spot. They're the 6th seed right now, Matt. And what's crazy is, had they played today and won, they actually would be the 5 seed. It's crazy. It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. Look, it's credit. It's both a credit to the Nuggets' resilience and also kind of a credit or a sign of like how messed up things are this year. Like when we're talking about, when we were talking about the earlier conversation about whether COVID defines stuff, like for me, it's Dallas is not 14-15,
right?
Because of COVID. Dallas is 14-15. Now, Dallas fans will be like, "Well, Luka's been out," and I'm like, "You have not been good with Luka. Like you have not been."
Yeah, I'll give them that one though. The more he plays, the more he'll be in shape and come around.
That's true, but I think they're and like the smart Mavs fans know this, that there's like clearly signs of trouble there. The Blazers 13-18, right? Now they've had Dame out for a number of games with the abdominal thing. They lost CJ, right? Again, though, if you look at that team when they were healthy, they weren't good. Like
Yeah.
the on-court stuff has been, to me, a bigger deal than COVID so far. The Sixers one I will probably give you because they got the Simmons thing. And B got hurt, then he got COVID.
This is the thing that's the same with Denver. They've actually had average bad luck this season. They just started one down. And it's the same with the 76ers. They just started one down. So everything compounds and feels way worse.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Cavs are 19-12 as we sit here and record this on Sunday night, and they are going through an outbreak. What if they come back and they're just not the same?
They were the best vibes in the NBA belong to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but you're right. This is everybody's this is what I mean, Matt. Listen to us. Just go through the NBA and I'm like, it's just chaos grenades everywhere.
Yeah, I like the basketball this year and I don't want to invalidate it. That's really
again, it doesn't invalidate it. It doesn't invalidate it. The challenge is the challenge that you're presented with. I'm just saying this is a hyper unique challenge.
I need to be excited about the NBA, Adam. I need to not just be like, yeah, well, everything sucks, because that's like how it's starting to feel right now.
I just looked at the schedule, and the Lakers play the Suns on Tuesday, and they are going to get smoked. And they're
going to get wrecked.
That's exciting.
They're going to get. I mean, look, the Lakers are not going to. The Lakers, the Lakers' plan right now has to be get through this period where you got a bunch of guys in COVID, get them out as quickly as possible, and then basically hit your stride somewhere going into and out of All-Star, and get yourself into a 6 seed, wind up in the 2-3. And then try and get out that way.
Yeah,
that's good. Like that's the plan. That's the only plan.
We didn't mention this. We talked about this on Twitter, but there's 2 times the Nuggets will go back to the East Coast. Do you think that they'll try to slide it into an existing East Coast trip, or do you think they'll just tack a makeup game on the end of the season? How's this going to work?
I think if you're the Nuggets and they ask you, because they'll consult them, I think they'll ask. Your preference has to be like, just give us the 4 and 5.
So that would be, here's how that would work. And it's actually kind of a funny schedule, Matt. So February 6th, they play Brooklyn in Denver. So they'll play Brooklyn, then they'll play the Knicks in Denver on the 8th. On the 9th, they would have to fly to Brooklyn and play. So that would be a back-to-back in Denver, and then the following night in Brooklyn, 2 time zones over. That's very tough. And then you get a day off, and then you play a back-to-back at Boston, at Toronto. So that would be 4 games in 5 days in 4 cities across 2 time zones east. That creates a schedule loss. Like one of those games, Denver is going to have no chance on, but they probably were going to lose, at least one of that games on that road trip anyway. So I don't know.
I'm looking at,
if they do that, by the way, if they do play it on the 9th, that would give Brooklyn 3 games in a row. So they would have to play a back-to-back-to-back. This is the funniest outcome, is that's what they do, and Denver and Brooklyn both rest their stars that game.
Why wouldn't they just play the game on February 9th after the game versus the Knicks?
That's what I'm saying. So for Denver,
they're home. They're home. Yeah,
they're home, so they'll play in Denver, then Brooklyn, then Boston, then Toronto in the course of 5 days. It's tough. And then if you go to Brooklyn's schedule in that same slot, that would give them 3 games in a row. Yeah, that's why I said there's no easy way to do this. So there's either that, which is a bad option, or Denver's just going to have to fly to Brooklyn for a little one-off, which is always weird.
Yeah, I thought the Knicks game was out there, but now I realize like they just beat them in MSG, so that's not going to work.
It honestly might be April 8th. They might just play Memphis in Denver, the second to last game of the season, fly to Brooklyn for 1 game, and then fly back home to play the Lakers. And again, like I said, there's just such a good chance that Denver punts that game anyway, and it kind of becomes funny.
Jeez.
I'm telling you, I looked at the entire schedule, Matt. There is not a good time for that game to be placed in there. There just isn't.
I believe you. I mean, I 100% believe you. It's going to be, because they just basically play every other day.
It's actually so rough that I'll actually go as far as to say that no matter where they put it, I would be surprised if Denver played their starters or played their stars in that game, wherever they reschedule it, which again is kind of funny. That was the whole point about canceling it anyway.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm looking. There's not one. They're going to have to stack in. They're probably just going to have to stack in either a
one-off road trip.
If they ask you, would you rather play a back-to-back-to-back, or the home versus Knicks, back-to-back in Brooklyn, two time zones. Which do you go with?
I'm probably the back-to-back when you're already on the road because they're going to punt that
No,
game.
I'll tell you. This is what they're going to do. I got it. They'll move
Jokic
back. I
doesn't
bet.
play that game.
I wonder if they move the start time back on Tuesday, February 8th versus the Knicks. It's currently like the normal 7:00 start time for Denver. I wonder if they move it back to like a 6:00 start, and then have the Nuggets fly out and play the back-to-back on and then that's what they'll do. I got it.
They'll move it up to an afternoon game, then fly out. So
no, here's what they'll do. They'll play the Knicks on February 8th.
Okay.
They don't play again until Friday.
Right.
And then they'll play the back-to-back Nets
on the
Celtics.
10th.
Yeah, Nets Celtics Raptors.
Oh my God. All right.
So, I mean, look, the Nuggets are going to get screwed. I mean, there's no way to like.
They're just going to rest guys. It's going to be what's going to be so funny about this is that game is actually going to look exactly like it would have if they played it yesterday, with one team having half the roster out.
Hey, the good news is like that's right before the All-Star break, though. So at least there's that. Let's take a break. We'll come back, and we want to talk about some good news that Mike Singer passed along. Let's do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, got to tell you about our sponsors, including it's the holidays, so that means it's time to put Built Bar in some stockings. 100% chocolate, low carbs, low sugar, low calorie, high in protein. So many flavors, you're gonna have a hard time choosing. Peanut butter brownie is my personal favorite, but you can get double chocolate or cookies and cream or mint brownie or cherry. They've got the new marshmallow puffs, which are light and marshmallowy all the way through, covered in chocolate. You can put your Built Bar in some hot cocoa if you want an extra special treat with some protein. Everybody's got their favorite. Makes for a great holiday. If you're going to have folks over for the holiday, please be careful. Make sure that you have got Built Bar in the house. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's 15% off with promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15 at built.com. We're also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered for all of your betting all the way through the rest of football season and beyond. If you want to bet on the Broncos to make the playoffs after they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals today, you can probably get a pretty good price on it. By the way, thoughts and I want to say felt awful for Teddy Bridgewater. That looked horrible.
Jeez, man.
Really worried about him. Awful,
I haven't been to a Bronco game for a while, man. That was so weird. It's just weird that you like sit there for a while where a guy like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, it's awful. Vic Fangio, by the way, you guys really need to pay more attention to how bad he is at clock management. I was yelling as a Chiefs fan. I was yelling about him running the ball when I was like, you have to start taking shots down the field. Your offense is not going to get there on the second to final drive. Ugh, it was awful. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. You can get a 50% welcome bonus and bet on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, Adam. How exciting is that? Just use promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. Basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available.
We got another 1-star review. I don't know if you saw for your Chiefs trolling. We did. We really did. Somebody actually went back and updated a previous 5-star. So it's really like a -1. They took one out of the good pile.
This is really mean that you guys are doing that. That genuinely hurts us. Please don't do that. You're listening to the show.
Too much Chiefs again. 1 star.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for making us part of your day, making us your first listen each and every day. Make your second listen Locked On Bets with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. Great picks every single day on Locked On Bets, available wherever you get podcasts. Adam, I saw an email come through my phone and I gave it to my wife and I said, you should look at this. It will make you happy. And she just screamed finally. And she was as happy as I've seen her in months because one, her grading as an instructor in literature is over. And so she no longer has to read terrible papers and she can drink wine as much as she wants, but also because Altitude has entered into new arrangements. to talk to end finally the standoff with Comcast. They've revised the offer and are entering into a process to where it seems like maybe in the next month or so, Altitude will be back on Comcast.
I'm hopeful, man. When I saw the report and like Mike Singer's teasing it, I'm thinking, well, first he teased it, and then when I saw the report, I was a little underwhelmed because I was like, wow, I thought it was going to say there's a resolution. It sounds like more there's just a counter proposal or something. So I don't, if I'm misreading this, but I'm not going to get too excited about this being resolved until it's resolved. Am I being a downer?
I think so. I'd look if let me put it this way: if the Cronkies are coming out of the legal trench,
yeah,
because like that's the whole thing is like this was a pride thing, which is crazy because they've been very serious about making sure the bottom line is the bottom line. But this has pretty clearly been a pride thing, and I mean, Oliva is like the ongoing battle for RSNs. Living Regal says, meanwhile, I have Dish Network, so nothing changes for me. Sorry, Living Regal. Good job for supporting Dish Network, a sponsor for the show, by the way. But it'd be good to get everything just for fans, right? Like, I mean, I think this is part of it. Is like you had Nikola Jokic had an MVP season in which most of the city could not watch it.
Oh, trust me, I can't even talk about it, man. It makes me so sad. Jokic is such a gift to the city.
Okay, let's go this then. What's something you're excited about right now? Like, what's something about NBA basketball? Like,
oh,
Nuggets
honestly, the Nuggets were playing well. That Minnesota game aside, which sometimes teams just come out hot. Denver came out a little flat, whatever. But outside of that, they had actually strung together some really impressive games, and the ball's been popping. Like, that's my phrase. I love saying it. I want to say it every day, but I haven't said it very often in the last 2 or 3 years because it doesn't happen too often. But over the last 5 games, it's been a lot. It's actually been the norm more than anything, where you look at it and you go, look, that's a team that's starting to play more and more connected. So I actually think Denver is – I wish they got to play yesterday, but I actually think Denver is starting to play some pretty good basketball. I'm curious to see if this 5 days off, what they look like, if it halts momentum or if it just gives them – I'm guessing it probably gives them a little much-needed rest, and they look really, really good.
The Wolves, after a win over the Mavericks, by the way, are 15-15. They are just a half game behind Denver. Are you ready to call the Wolves good yet?
Yeah, they're good. I don't think they're great. Like I don't necessarily fear the Wolves, but I think they're solid. I fear them more than I fear Portland.
Yeah, Portland's not good. The Wolves. I'll say this something that's interesting. The Nuggets are 2-3 versus division teams this season.
Interesting.
If you want a good playoff seed, there's 2 things you got to do. You got to beat teams under 500. That's an important part of it. You have to take care of teams under 500. You win your home games. That's another thing I don't talk about as often as I should. And you got to win your division games. So They got to pick it up a little bit versus the division teams. They had the rough loss to Utah without Jokic, and then that Wolves game. But they're going to need to find, I think, like they got to start winning those games. That's important.
And then they lost even the Utah as the game Jokic got hurt in the first half.
Yeah.
Remember, he had 27. So they've actually 2 of the games have been without Jokic.
Yeah.
Sadly.
They are 10-4 versus teams under 500, which is really promising. They've already got 14 games under those teams under their belt, which is kind of a lot. But I will say, like, the Clippers are 8-7, the Grizzlies are 8-6. Like, the Nuggets have as few losses to teams below 500 as the Jazz. Which here's like a weird trend for you. Know who's in our division, Zamora says. That's true, but you still like that's on the coaching staff to be like,
he does now. No, he does now. He does now. That quote was from 2016 or 17. Like, he knows now.
Here's a weird one. Utah this season, when they're a double-digit favorite, is 6-6 straight up. They have 6 losses when they're a double-digit favorite this season. That's a weird. Like Utah's in a weird place where every other game I don't know whether to be like, oh man, they're so good and what a machine, and then like the next game I'm like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?
Do you think Denver came back home, by the way?
Let's see.
They play on Wednesday.
At the schedule.
I'm guessing they did.
Yeah, they definitely came home.
You don't need to be in Oklahoma City that long. They might even have practice tomorrow. Actually,
Well,
they probably should have practice tomorrow.
I would bet. They shouldn't, but I'm just telling you. I would bet that. Let's see. They canceled the game today, right?
Yeah.
They are still in New York tonight. I would bet.
All right.
So,
Man.
I don't know. I'll text and see.
That'd be
try and find out.
interesting. Yeah.
All right, it's gonna wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. We were like, oh yeah, what are we gonna talk about? And you and I go 45 minutes. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to okay. If I'll incentivize you.
No way, man.
If I get 6 5-star reviews by the next time I podcast, you got 2 days on this, okay? Because I'm not gonna be around tomorrow night. If by Tuesday night, we get 6 5-star reviews, I will not talk about the Chiefs for a month.
To be fair, if we get 6 1-star reviews before then too, I'll bet he will also stop talking about the Chiefs. Both things would incentivize him to stop talking about Chiefs. So pick your battle. Pick your weapon.
That is not true. If you challenge me with more, I will
just extort the rating system. I love it. I'm all for it. I'm for it.
So if we get 6 5-star reviews by Wednesday night, I will not talk about the Chiefs for a solid month. Okay. If we get 12 5-star reviews,
solid month.
If we get 12 5-star reviews, 12. I will not talk about the Chiefs for the rest of the season, even if they win the Super Bowl. Even if.
It's on Apple Podcasts.
On Apple Podcasts. Make sure to go to YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, join us. Should be fun. So do that. For Adam Mars, Adam will be back tomorrow night. He's got an episode. I'm out here in Vegas for Showcase. I'll be back on Tuesday night with Adam. We'll talk about, I'll give you my impressions of the gold that I saw out here in Vegas. And as I try and not go anywhere except to the arena and back, we'll talk about wherever the league is at, suspension of games. We'll see if we have a game coming. We'll see all that kind of stuff. We'll get you updated. Thanks for joining us. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Nuggets. For Adam Maras of DNVR, you can check out his work at thednvr.com. I'm Matt Moore. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.